I'd like to call
Tuesday, April 26, 2016, school board meeting to order. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Ms. Egan?
here.
Ms. Fallon? Ms. Hazard?
Here.
Ms. Healy?
Here.
Mr. Hirons? Here. Ms. Kidby?
Here.
Mr. McOsker?
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum?
I do. I'm going to move to go into closed session. Do I have to? We have to.
We have to read it.
Okay. Pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia, I move that the Stafford County School Board convene a closed meeting to discuss or consider an appointment of personnel pursuant to the personnel exemption of Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will be in closed section briefly, we believe. Be right back.
Whereas the Stafford County School Board has convened a closed session meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended requires certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Stafford County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, and considered.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, will you pull the board, please?
Ms. Egan?
Agreed.
Ms. Fallon? Ms. Hazard?
Agreed.
Ms. Healy?
Agree.
Mr. Hirons?
Agreed.
Ms. Kidby?
Agree.
Mr. McOsker?
Agreed.
Your motion passes unanimously.
Is there a motion coming out of closed session? I believe, Ms. Kidby?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move that we adopt the superintendent's recommendation for chief secondary officer.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Enthusiastic. Dr. Benson, will you please make our announcement?
We are pleased to announce the appointment this evening of Mr. Thomas Nichols as the Chief Secondary Officer for the school division. Mr. Nichols' history with Stafford began in 1991 as a teacher at North Stafford High School. He has many years' experience as both a teacher and assistant principal. We all know him as the very successful principal of North Stafford High School, where he has served for almost 12 years. He will be greatly missed by his staff, students, and grateful community. His list of accomplishments while at North have been many. To name a few, he implemented the very successful Jostens Renaissance philosophy, recognizing, reinforcing, respecting, and rewarding student academic and faculty success, implemented a hybrid block scheduling format, developed professional learning communities, implemented a freshman at-risk academy, implemented a virtual credit recovery program, implemented the virtual Virginia School, and first to implement JROTC in Stafford County Public Schools. There are several programs first started by Mr. Nichols and the staff at North Stafford. We are proud to bring his talents to serve at the division level. Mr. Nichols earned both his bachelor and master's degrees in technology education from the California University of Pennsylvania. He earned the educational leadership endorsement in administration and supervision from George Mason University, and he is currently working on his doctorate at Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University. Welcome aboard.
Do I have another motion out of closed session?
Madam Chair, I move to adopt superintendent's recommendation for assistant principal for Montcure Elementary School.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously and enthusiastically. Dr. Benson?
And I am pleased to announce Ms. Abigail Martinez is the school board's appointment this evening as the assistant principal for Moncure Elementary School. Since 2013, Ms. Martinez served as the assistant principal at Ferry Farm Elementary. Prior to this, she served as speech-language pathologist with Stafford County Schools. Abby's had a variety of leadership responsibilities while at Ferry Farm Elementary School. She served as special education designee and facilitated the response to intervention program. Ms. Martinez has also been involved with a number of division-wide activities, including the elementary school educational specifications, our focus on all-sensory skills, blended learning, and the new teacher advisory counselor. Ms. Martinez has a Bachelor of Arts in Communicative Disorders from the University of New Mexico. She has a Master of Science degree in Speech, Language, and Auditory Pathology from East Carolina University, and her graduate certificate in Educational Leadership from the University of Mary Washington. And we're excited to have her at Annie Moncure Elementary School.
At this time, I would ask that we all rise for a short moment of silence, and then we will have the colors presented by the Brook Point High School JROTC.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, cadets. It's always great to have our schools present our colors. Moving on to approval of the agenda, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any
Madam Chair,
discussion?
do we have paper backup? Or,
I have
okay,
one set.
great, thank you.
What's that?
Well, because we wouldn't
Yeah,
copy
sure.
these every night.
Our computers aren't working all that well up here, that's why I asked.
That's right. So, any discussion? Try it now, everybody.
Mine came up. Refresh?
Refresh.
Mine's working.
See?
Yep, mine's working.
All right. Well, approval of the agenda, and we have the agenda on our screens. So, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The agenda has been approved. Moving on to awards. The chair would like to recognize Xavier Richardson, Mary Washington Hospital Foundation, for presentation of awards. And Dr. Benson, will you step down to the podium for a presentation?
Good evening. On behalf of Stafford Hospital Foundation, it gives me great pleasure to present this plaque in appreciation of Stafford County Public Schools' tremendous support of the 2016 Stafford Hospital 5K, which was held a week and a half ago. We had a tremendous outpouring of support from Stafford County Public Schools, over 150 participants. This is a tremendous partnership that we hope to enjoy in the future as well with other initiatives. And there was some competition, some healthy competition with the healthy battle of the schools. And Hampton Oaks Elementary School received that. Most importantly, we appreciate your physical presence there that morning. We know that you do a tremendous job of running the schools, but you also did a great job of running the race. So we appreciate that support and the support of all of Stafford County Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. And just kudos to our amazing clerk that got us all organized and 150 strong at the race, because it was quite the sight. So thank you so much, Roberta.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Richardson. And we hope to see you next year. Put this one out. I would like to recognize Ann Emerson, School to Career Specialist, for presentation of awards.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board, for recognizing students who earned a state-level award in the National Career Development Association's Poetry and Poster Contest. I have to tell you, this year's theme, Fostering Well-Being Through Meaningful Work, was a challenge for the kids. They either referenced careers that involved caring for others, or they kind of ignored the theme. So I think we need to make sure and get the word out. A good career is also a career that makes you feel good. Working with great people makes my career good. So before I give the student certificates, I'd like to recognize 6 teachers who took time and gave encouragement to their students to explore their unique futures through this contest. The students would not have even known about it probably if the teachers hadn't given them the opportunity. Those teachers are Linda Glazer from Rock Hill Elementary, Mary Ellen McCabe from Stafford Elementary. I think Mary Ellen's here. Melanie Kiesow from Mountain View High School, Belinda Casto from Alternative Education, Natalie Walden from Shirley Heim Middle School, and Linda Walker from Dixon Smith Middle School. And now for the student honorees. The students can come forward to receive their certificate, and please hold applause. We'll just keep a whole stream of kids coming, and parents, come on up with them if you'd like to take a photo. You're welcome to join us, Dr. Benson. Thanks. Okay. Tristan Horton from Moncure Elementary received first place in primary poetry. Tristan? Not here, I guess. Okay. Liam Nino from Rock Hill Elementary received first place in primary poster. He's coming. Nathan Karras from Rock Hill Elementary received second place in primary poster. And Seth McShay from Rock Hill Elementary received third place in primary poster. Okay.
Oh, Dad, come on over.
Okay.
That's perfect.
All right, smile. And now for intermediate awards, Kaylee Griekus from Stafford Elementary, receiving first place in intermediate poetry. Maximilian Hamilton from Stafford Elementary, receiving third place in intermediate poetry. And I'm going to get the poster winners up too. Ezin Nakvi from Stafford Elementary, receiving first place in intermediate poster. Khalil Pinson from Stafford Elementary, receiving second place in intermediate poster. And Abigail Lane from Stafford Elementary, receiving third place in intermediate poster. Moving on to middle school, Jamela Riddick is not here tonight. She received first place in middle poetry. She's from Shirley High Middle. Erin Bryant from Rodney Thompson Middle, an alt ed student, received second place in poetry. And Roberto Rodriguez, a Shirley High Middle School student at alt ed, received third place in middle poetry. First place in middle poster, Kalia Washington is not here tonight. She's from Dixon Smith Middle. Ryan Buckley from Dixon Smith Middle received second place in poster. And Victoria Walden from Dixon Smith Middle received third place in poster. Is Roberto here? Okay. Roberto was a double winner, also received first place in poster, and Brooke Morrow received second place in poster. And now the high school awards, or we're still a step behind. Okay, now high school. Kimberly Boyd from Stafford High received first place in poster. Claire Conway from Mountain View High School received first place in poetry. Ella Larson from Mountain View received second place in poetry. And Matt Coakley from Mountain View received third place in poetry. There we go. I knew it was there. Awesome smiles. Awesome work, guys. Very proud of everyone.
Next, I'd like to recognize Scott McClellan, Principal, Brook Point High School, for a presentation of awards. You have to pass all those famous people.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, and Dr. Benson. Tonight, it gives me great pleasure to present some of Brook Point High School's most outstanding students. I'm going to start first with Russ Pierce and assistant wrestling coach Joe Fisher. Please come on down. Got your on so they can see your pretty face. Coach Fisher and Russ, they were a team that helped Russ compile a record of 43-6 this past wrestling season. To cap off an outstanding season, Russ went on to win this year's 5A State Wrestling Championship in the 195-pound weight class. And in addition to this, Russ is Brook Point's first and only wrestling champion since the school opened in 1993. Please join me in congratulating Russ on this accomplishment. Next, would the hosted chapter members and their sponsor, Susan Batis, please come forward? It gives me great pleasure to stand before you and announce that for the 11th consecutive year, the Brook Point High School Hosted Chapter has received the Outstanding Hosted Chapter Award in the state of Virginia. And at the State Leadership Conference, several of our students placed either first or second in their competitions. Not all those students could be here, but those students and their accomplishments are as follows. Amanda York placed first place in Medical Law and Ethics Knowledge Test. Taylor Hayes placed first in Clinical Specialty, Detailed Project and Interview Presentation on Interventional Radiology Technologist. Sydney Ralph couldn't be here, but she placed second in Extemporaneous Writing. Emily Leveroni took first place in Medical Photography and second place in Healthcare Issues Exam. Natalia Robles placed first in HOSA Happenings newsletter as the editor. The team of Lily Bradford and Adriana Bahari won first place in Health Education. And the team of Lily Bradford, Elizabeth Hamlet, Emily Leveroni, and Sydney Ralph won first place in the Medical Reserve Corps Partnership. So please join me in congratulating Susan Batis and her outstanding HOSA students. Congratulations.
And next, I'd like to recognize Andy Bathke, Assistant Principal, Stafford High School, for a presentation of awards. I believe he's here.
Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Benson, it is my pleasure this evening to present some of Stafford High School's most outstanding students from the Skills USA competition. Will all attending team members and sponsors please come forward? Stafford High School had 26 student members and 8 faculty members participate in the 52nd Skills USA Virginia State Leadership Conference held in Fredericksburg on April 16th. This was the Fredericksburg area's first year as host to the conference, which includes leadership and skills competitions, plus the election of its state student officers at both high school and college levels. Congratulations to Stafford's competitors who earned 26 individual medals. Gold medallions for first place were awarded to the team of Jennifer Sproul and Nicholas Hausend in additive manufacturing. Emily Crescio in architectural drafting. Raul Marroquin Sandoval in carpentry. Andrew Boring in power equipment technology. Kevin Dreek in technical drafting. They will represent Virginia at the National Skills USA Championships in Louisville in June. Additionally, silver medallions for second place were awarded to the team of Carver Johnson and Nolan England in additive manufacturing. Bronze medallions for third place were awarded to the team of A.J. Schalk and Stephen Schultz in additive manufacturing and Jonathan Nowalski in industrial motor control. The results of the technical exams were Nolan England, gold standard technical drafting, Sean McHugh, Samantha Texan, silver standard cosmetology, Emily Crescio, Jennifer Sproul, A.J. Schalk, silver standard technical drafting, Zaria Campbell, Brianna Rhodes, Stacy Skiles, Allison Stevens, bronze standard cosmetology, Carver Johnson, David Mundy, bronze standard in architectural drafting, Jonathan Nowalski, bronze standard electrical construction wiring, and Stephen Schultz and Nicholas Hausend, bronze standard in technical drafting. Instructors Jeff Autry, Mark Brunson, Angela Candela, Lisa Gibson, Dan Harding, Bobby Jett, Robbie Phipps, and Tammy Thomas accompanied students to the conference. Mrs. Thomas served as a contest judge. Mr. Phipps and 4 of his students assisted with the masonry and bricklaying competitions. Mr. Harding and his students constructed the stations for the electrical construction wiring competition. Mr. Jett served as the chairman for the manufacturing competitions and will represent the 10 states and 2 territories of Region 2 for Skills USA National Advisor of the Year. Congratulations to all. Thank you, guys. Next up is the Stafford High School forensics team, who recently competed in the 5A VHSL State Championship. Would the attending team members and their sponsor please come forward? In original oratory, Sharia Hughes placed 3rd in state. In the storytelling competition, Colleen Clivino earned 3rd place in state. In the humorous interpretation competition, Ruby Colbaugh placed 2nd in state. And in the humorous duo interpretation, Lexi Swager and Wilson Pizzuto were named state champions. Stafford High School finished 3rd in the state of Virginia. Thank you so much to all.
And next, I would like to recognize Tom Nichols, current principal, North Stafford High School, and soon-to-be Chief Secondary Officer, for presentation of awards.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Benson. It is my pleasure this evening to present a few of North Nation's outstanding, and I might add, the fastest student athletes. I'd invite our indoor track athletes and their coach come forward at this time. These athletes, led by Coach Chris Farmer, won the indoor track Conference 15, the regional championships, and ultimately placed 5th at the state championship meet. With this accomplishment, Coach Farmer was named the Freelance Star Coach of the Year for indoor track. Congratulations, Coach. Kelsey Smith won the Conference 15, 5A North Region, and the state championship in shot put. Her winning throw was 39 feet, 4 3/4 inches. Congratulations, Kelsey. And our girls 4x400 relay team took top honors in the Conference 15, the 5A North Region, and also the state championship with a time of 4 minutes and 1 second. But that's not all. They continued to run and went on to the national meet where they placed 11th overall in the nationals with a time of 3 minutes, 53 seconds. And those team members include, not with us tonight, but Jamie Lewis. Then we have Malika Pride. We have Kazia Russell. And we also have Whitney Warford. Congratulations on an outstanding season. Please join me in a round of applause.
I don't know, Dr. Benson. That was a pretty fast time for you.
It was very fast. That's why the oldest person gets to pick the distance.
Actually, moving on, we have a recognition for Dr. David White, our current Chief Secondary Officer, and I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Benson. I know. Come on up.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, members of the school board, and Dr. Benson. I am honored, yet saddened, to stand before you this evening to recognize the service and dedication of Dr. David White, Chief Secondary Officer. Dr. White, would you please come forward?
Stand here now.
Yes. We are very proud of Dr. White as he goes forward to serve the students and community as the superintendent of schools in King William County. This, of course, will be his last school board meeting, but I know you're invited to attend each and every one thereafter.
You can even watch us.
You can even watch us. We certainly wish you well. Dr. White joined Stafford County Schools in 2012 as the Supervisor of Career and Technical Education. His skills and talents were quickly put to work to benefit our students. In 2014, he was appointed Interim Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Schools, and Dr. Benson, recognizing the potential, permanently appointed him as Chief Academic Officer. Words can never express their sincere appreciation for all Dr. White has done for Stafford County Public Schools, staff, students, and parents. He has certainly been a delight to work with, and we look forward to all of his successes. Perhaps word on the street is Dr. White is challenging, possibly, Dr. Benson to be the fastest superintendent running in the state of Virginia. Maybe he was seen with the North Stafford students that maybe, I don't know, he might be being trained.
A ringer.
Anyway, certainly, congratulations, and we wish you the best of luck, and we will certainly miss you.
Think of us.
Was it something I said?
You know, Madam Chair, we're going to miss Dave White and his family. Dave's from Stafford. His family roots run deep in Stafford County, and just wish all the best to you, Dave. And if you ever want to come back for some advice from some school board members. You still have my phone number, Dave, but I know your mom and dad and your family are real proud, and Dave, so we're really going to miss you.
All in favor?
Boo-hoo. David, thank you for everything that you've done, and, come visit. So, and now moving along, we will have our next Teacher Appreciation Week proclamation, which is going to be read by our educator, Ms. Kippy.
Proclamation to designate May 2nd through the 6th, 2016, as National Teacher Appreciation Week. Whereas teacher quality is widely acknowledged as the single most important factor influencing student learning and achievement, and whereas Virginia teachers, while presenting the rigorous content of the standards of learning and local curricula, challenge students to apply what they learn through critical thinking and problem solving. And whereas Virginia teachers prepare students for success in the new Virginia economy through the integration of technology and instruction through the development of 21st century skills, including collaboration and creativity. And whereas Virginia teachers encounter students of widely differing backgrounds. And whereas Virginia teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service. And whereas Virginia teachers encourage students to achieve their goals while recognizing that every student has unique strengths and needs. And whereas the commitment of Virginia teachers to academic excellence and college and career readiness is reflected in annual increases in student performance on state and national assessments. And whereas Virginia teachers directly assist the State Board of Education and the Department of Education in periodic revisions of the standards of learning by serving on review committees and other capacities. And whereas this year, the week of May 2nd through 6, 2016, is set aside as National Teacher Appreciation Week for the purpose of recognizing teachers both individually and collectively, and we're adding a whereas here. And whereas Stafford County Public Schools enjoys one of the Commonwealth's most outstanding, professional, and dedicated group of teachers, now therefore be it proclaimed that Stafford County School Board does hereby proclaim May 2 through 6, 2016 as National Teacher Appreciation Week in Stafford County Public Schools. Please remember your teachers.
And in that vein, many of you know that we do have each of our schools nominates a Teacher of the Year, and I would like to formally read all of those into the record, also for us to make sure that we certainly know those teachers. All teachers certainly are valued, but it is neat every year that we do this, and I would like to read those into the record this evening. At our elementary schools, at Anthony Burns Elementary, Kelly Webb. Kate Waller Barrett Elementary, Patty Breland. Margaret Brent Elementary, Larissa Bowling. Conway Elementary, Keisha Johnson. Falmouth Elementary, Michelle Repass. Ferry Farm Elementary, Julie Allen. Garrisonville Elementary, Jessica Mylinek. Grafton Village Elementary, Chaley Carmichael. Hampton Oaks Elementary, Daisy Perez. Hartwood Elementary, Lauren Hanahan. Moncure Elementary, Lisa Skier. Park Ridge Elementary, Christy Fresh. Rock Hill Elementary, Debbie Hamilton. Rocky Run Elementary, Kathy Keel. Stafford Elementary, Sarha Swiger. Widewater Elementary, Lori Lerner. Winding Creek Elementary, Megan Winkles. At our middle schools, Drew Middle, Christy Proudfoot. Dixon Smith, Christy Cheek. Gail Middle, Brenda James. H.H. Poole, Sherry Guyton. Stafford Middle, Rebecca Musso. Rodney Thompson Middle, Caitlin McClug. A.G. Wright Middle School, Carol Korth. Shirley Heim Middle, Emma Kavanaugh. And at our high schools, Brook Point, Kristen Knott. Colonial Forge, Deborah Hanson. Mountain View, Seth Thompson. North Stafford, Sarah Taylor. And at Stafford High, Heather Pribble. We will recognize these teachers in May, and we will also be recognizing formally our service employees, which we had a wonderful time celebrating a couple weeks ago. So thank you all to our teachers for all that you do, and we hope for a really wonderful Teacher Appreciation Week. Moving on to public comment. Let me get on here. Speakers shall identify themselves by name, address, and organizational affiliation if the spokesperson represents an organization. Speakers shall also announce the purpose or topic of their comments. 3 minutes shall be allotted to speakers. As you see, there are 3 lights: green, yellow, and red. After 2 minutes, the yellow light will come on. When the red light comes on, your time has expired, and please take 5 seconds to wrap up. The chairman reserves the right to restrict the total citizen comment received at any particular meeting to a predetermined maximum number of minutes with the approval of the board. Citizen comment which is profane, abusive, or which threatens imminent physical harm shall be ruled out of order by the chair. Although the board provides the opportunity for citizen comment, individuals desiring to register complaints against division employees or division programs, services, or activities may also utilize the procedures outlined in Policy 1113, Public Complaints. I have one speaker who has signed up. If you are also planning to speak after that speaker, I would ask that you go ahead and line up behind them, give your comments first, and then sign on the clipboard, which would be to my right, your left. So I will start with Lee Terrace, I believe. Come on up to, and anyone else, if you want to speak, please come on forward and form behind. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My name is Lee Terrace. I represent Xerox Corporation, and what I would like to address is in your action item section on tonight's agenda, item 10.02, the amended approval of award of the contract for copier services to Ricoh. I spoke at this meeting 2 weeks ago and appreciate you all indulging me again. As it pertains to School Board Policy 5801, there needs to be sound reasoning as to why the lowest bid was not accepted. In asking, or I should say in bringing up a few points last week, it didn't seem as though at the time the board was able to really explain it, and certainly has come back with some direction. Meeting notes, as posted on your website Friday morning, has provided background information to say that vendors were provided with a list of your units of copiers by school, by division. And in effect, the purchasing office, including Ann Sharp and Terry Stafford, reviewed the proposals, put them in a spreadsheet, and basically determined that 4 out of the 5 different proposals were within $5,000 a month of each other. And I was a little surprised by that, because the other piece of the criteria was that you considered vendor references, experience, and customer service. And I'd like to think, being Xerox and having invented this industry, we certainly know the experience, the customer service piece. We provided references. We were then directed by school board personnel to provide references from customers they knew were Ricoh accounts, which seemed a little odd to us. And at the end of the day, we were then notified in writing, again in what was posted Friday morning, that Ricoh was selected. And we know our bid came in $43,000 a year less than Ricoh's. And again, a $5,000 a month spread may not seem like much, but what occurred to me is if I take $5,000 and multiply that by 12 months in a year, that's $60,000. That is more than the cost of a first-year teacher in this school district. And after being here 2 weeks ago and hearing that you were just coming off of a forensic accounting audit and listening to people make requests for curriculum needs and staffing needs, I do think there is an opportunity for the board to reconsider and not approve this award and look at the overall picture and say what's best for the citizens and students of Stafford County. Because knowing that a tax increase is also being proposed, if I were a tax-paying member of this community, I would be asking, why would you need my taxes when perhaps we're paying more for basic services than we should? We would very much like to meet with you. We have requested meetings and been told not until after the award, so we would still like to do that, and I again would ask that you table the rewards, because I am of the belief we know a lot about copiers, you know a lot more about education, so help us to help you fund yourselves to do what you do better than we do. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chairperson, Chairwoman, I guess, and members of the board, and Dr. Benson. My name is Teresa Thompson, and I'm representing the Stafford Education Association. I've been taking a look at the forensic review of the workings of their financial system and greatly dismayed regarding all of the transfers out of salaries and benefits when those were the very years that your employees were being told there was no money for step increases and there was no money for raises and COLAs. I understand the money that is carryover, the $8.3 million is one-time money, and that it is being used to pay down debt and some other services, which is always a good idea. And I have also heard and have been reassured that those types of practices will not continue. But looking at it overall, that practice is really being continued because the state of Virginia last year gave 1.5% increase for SOQ employees, and I understand that it does not cover all of their employees, but Stafford County employees got just the 1.5% increase, which had already been placed into the budget before the state money became available. So the money from the state then was used in other areas, or it replaced money and that money was used in other areas. This year, after the board approved a budget, the state said we are going to give 2% as a COLA for SOQ positions. So this school board had given very graciously a 2% COLA plus the 1% VRS and the enhancements for those employees below the median. But when the state came forward with additional monies for salaries and benefit, that money is being used for other things other than salary and benefits. Or we're pulling the money from salary and benefits that you had set aside, replacing it, but ultimately using that money for things other than salary and benefits. So these types of things are still occurring, just more upfront. And so I'd ask as you go through your budget process this year and next year, you consider that and use those state monies in what it's intended for.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board? If not, I will close public comment and we will move to superintendent's comments. Dr. Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to say one more thing about Dr. White, just so that we get that on camera as well. And that's it. I've only had the opportunity to work with him for 2 years, but I can tell you after 2 years, I'm really confident he's going to do a great job as superintendent. So we wish you very well. Just one other item, and that has to do with the resolution that the board adopted regarding the $8.3 million. I would like to be in a position to go back to the supervisors at their meeting next week and advocate for the release of those funds. The original resolution included $1.85 million for summer 2016 infrastructure projects, repayment of debt for the new ERP system, $2.15 million, repayment of debt for buses, $836,000, and cash capital reserve for school capital projects in the amount of $3.5 million. Since the time that resolution was adopted, the supervisors have indicated that there was some interest in redirecting $2 million in cash to the Moncure rebuild. And so I would ask that the board consider that amendment to the original resolution such that I may advocate for that at the supervisors meeting next week.
Is that the sense of the board? Ms. Healy?
I have no objection, Madam Chairman. I think it's very wise to go back and ask for what we were encouraged to ask for, and perhaps we shall receive if we ask.
Do we want a motion to amend that, or how would you like that presented? Do you think we should amend the formal motion? Would that be helpful, Dr. Benson?
I don't think.
Well, if there's consensus, I mean, if there's consensus among board members, I think that it is cash capital. It's just that we're going to direct $2 million of it to a capital project, potentially, if we get the support of the supervisors.
All right.
So you're saying you don't need a motion? As long as there's consensus and there
I think
seems
as
to
long
be-
as there's consensus, and this is not monies that's going to be allocated in relatively short order. If there needs to be something from the supervisor side, I can certainly come back, but I want to make sure that I'm in a position to represent the board with supervisors next week.
Is there general consensus, McCosker?
Yeah.
Ms. Healy? Ms. Egan? I'm good. Good.
Yeah.
Mr. Benson? All right. You have what you need. All right, moving on to consent items. Do I have a motion for consent?
Move for approval.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded regarding the 8 items on consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to our action items. Action item 10.01. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve 10.01.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or further questions regarding this item?
I do have a question. So the $32,000 for NSTAR that's not budgeted for 16, has that been included somewhere in our? So I see 40,000 budgeted for instructional materials. I see 600,000 for summer programs. And there's 32,000 that says it's not budgeted. Was that a misplaced X or?
Mr. McAusher, that's indicated as not budgeted because that's grant funds.
I'm sorry.
It's not local funds, it's grant funds.
Oh, okay. So you haven't received it yet, is what you're
Right.
indicating?
We're anticipating that.
So you'll get these funds sometime during the year, probably, or?
Sometime after July 1. I need to verify that, actually. We may have it now.
Okay.
But it's indicated as not local budget. That's the way I've interpreted this, that would be grant funds.
Okay.
That comes from the Navy.
Okay, yeah, I mean,
Ms.
just follow back with it. Someone follow
Certainly.
back with us.
Ms. Kidby, did you have a comment? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's my understanding that that is a grant we get annually for this program, and it comes from the Navy, I believe, doesn't it?
That's right.
Okay.
Naval.
Yeah,
That's
it's a great program. My boys actually participated in it for a couple years, and it's an
Yeah.
annual grant that we get from the Navy to participate in
So
this
we're hoping that
program.
it'll come back to us at 32,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Ms. Healy, sorry.
In there, before you leave,
Dr. Quinn.
Dr. Quinn, one more. In our budget session, work session prior to the meeting, we were given some information that there was $286,563. I'm not sure if it's left over or overestimated or otherwise available from the summer school program for instruction. Is that reflected in the 600,000?
The 600,000 are the actual costs that, based on a trend from, as far as I can remember, 600,000 would cover that.
So this was the original trend, though, right? Isn't that what you were talking about, Mr. Wolf? The 600,000 was the original trend, and the 286,000 was the updated amount.
Of my recollection, I said it was around 700,000, and that based on the actual expenditures that versus what our original budget was, which I think was a number that left over than 286,000. We sat down and we went through all the revenue sources. We went through where the prior year spending was, and we determined that that amount of money was leftover funds.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I'm
just trying to
it's
figure out.
left over, so it was close to 900,000 originally, and now it's down to 600? I'm just trying to factor this in
For
with what
this
we've seen.
agenda item, this is FY16 money, correct? The budget's FY17.
Yeah, the budget's for
Right, but I'm
17.
just trying to figure out, where this $286,563 came from. Is it before this or after this? I understand that's next year, but did we budget 300,000 more, 50% more for next year?
I don't know what the exact number was, but the delta between what was in the budget as originally adopted and what it was that's necessary to cover the full expenses of the program left $286,000 left over.
So and the reason I'm pursuing this is because this is 50% of this cost. The 600,000, it's approximately 300,000, so that's 50%. So I'm just trying to figure out, is it really 600,000, or do we estimate 900,000, or how does this fit in? Do you know what it's going to be for next year? Maybe that would help me out. And maybe
Well, no,
this
I
is
mean, I was under the understanding, just to dovetail off I was under the understanding that, oh, yes, our budget, you did a recap of the past expenditures, and then you found it to not be 600 or 700 for summer school, for it to be, and specifically for 17, $286,000 less. So I think Mrs. Healy and I want to know, so you have 600,000 budgeted here, because remember, we have a $286,000 math specialist deficit that we're still trying to fix. So just help me out here, figure this out.
I don't know what the original, I'm just going to tell you, I don't remember what the original number was. I just know that we asked for the input from Dr. Quinn, looking at what the trend was of the actual expenditures, and we made sure that all the elements of what needed to be part of the program costs were evaluated, and we came up with $286,000 that was not going to be needed in the budget.
Perhaps, if I may, Madam Chair, perhaps what would certainly help me better understand of the cost of summer school is clearly I get the impression that $600,000 is what was budgeted in this current year for summer school. If and what we're suggesting at this point is that perhaps that's what summer school is going to cost. What I'd like to know is that actually what summer school is going to cost us for this year? And maybe that's not a question you can answer right now. Maybe that's a question that needs to come back to us later. But I have a feeling that $600,000 is the budget that we saw in our current year for summer school. Whether or not summer school is going to cost us $600,000 is a very good question. And that's what we're not clear on. So if we could get some clarity on that, that would be helpful.
Up more on that. Right, that's what we're saying.
That would be terrific.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be terrific.
Based on the way it's been planned and based on trend, 600,000 would cover it.
Yeah.
But we were told earlier that based on the trends, we would have almost 300,000 extra from what was budgeted for next year. So
And-
we need to know what's budgeted for next year.
Yeah, but this was budgeted last year for
Right.
this summer.
Right.
So this is part of the $300,000 trend. So I think what we're all kind of inferring is, I think we just found our math specialist money.
Perhaps, and but I do think that the agenda item as on here, it is the program of study, even if we continue to pursue the budget part of it for further, do we want, I'm just trying to make sure we don't, my suggestion would be not to hold up our.
And I don't have any problem approving the summer school program. I recall several years ago, not that far ago, that we were told we couldn't afford summer school, which because of no money. So at this point, and this isn't the question for you, but I will be questioning expenditures. And I appreciate you giving us this $300,000, and I'm, as Mrs. Kidby says, I just wonder if this is $600,000 is really $314,000, more or less. So we'll see.
It's something we can pursue in our additional upcoming session on next Thursday.
Well,
I think.
I'd like
Or-
to
Is there
have
any-
Dr.
well,
Benson
Dr.
send us
Quinn.
that information.
Well,
when
and
it's
Dr. Quinn, is
available.
there any harm in delaying the board's approval until the first meeting in May?
It's kind of close, isn't it?
You remember with the school board weekly report back, we asked for, to be able to advertise it for parents in terms of the dates.
Yeah.
Pending school board approval.
right.
To wait another meeting would be fine.
Yeah. So I think we can go ahead and approve and
Yes.
just put like, maybe a little question mark on this amount or.
As a follow-on.
We're in the midst of FY17 discussion. You guys are getting into it. It's not germane to this agenda item.
Sure, it's a Jane. Hold on.
It's $300,000 that we could have left over this year if it's not spent.
We were just in a work session, Mr. Hirons, where the budget director told us that upon review of the last 3 years of summer school, he found $286,000 a year that he didn't need. And he adjusted for FY17. And so now I'm seeing $600,000 on an FY16 budget that was budgeted last year by this finance department. And I'm asking, since we've put up there 4 math specialists, I'm asking, of this $600,000, can we use that budgeted amount that was given to us by the director of finance to pay for the math specialists or pay for something that the board deems necessary? So it's very, very, let me say one more time, very germane.
That would be FY16
17.
carryover funds because it'd be unexpended funds that were budgeted in FY16. We can't use that for math specialists because it's not reoccurring money.
Well, it could perhaps be used for growth positions. There are ways to make things work.
There are ways to make it work.
But I think at this point, and Dr. Quinn, this is not a reflection on you directly. I don't know who is responsible. We should find out. But we need to know on these budgets. I mean, I appreciate staff telling us we've over budgeted summer school by almost $300,000 in the past. That's the trend. My question today is this $600,000 adjusted for that inflation? Was it $900,000 to begin with?
No.
And I think,
this is the $600,000 that was budgeted last year.
and at this point, let's get that information.
I think
'cause
it's
don't-
coming in.
This application has to do with 17.
This
These
is-
are 17 funds.
This is beyond July
These
1
are
because the
17
actual.
Wait, these are 17 funds because it does say right here FY16
It says
within the
16.
agenda item.
That's
It says
how I
If it's
read it.
16, I'm with you.
I'm with you, right.
Well,
I mean, if it's
If
17.
it's 17, yeah, I'm with you. I agree.
I think it's 16.
Not that I'm not with you
17.
anyway.
yeah, no, I mean, and I'm not, Mr. Hirons and the FAB are doing a fabulous job. I just want to make sure that, you know,
If it's 17.
some of us have some reason to double-check numbers. I've read a few papers lately,
So,
okay?
Dr. Quinn-
So I've got some issues.
Dr. Quinn, are these expenditures going to take place prior to the end of FY16?
No, they are after July 1 is when we have summer
So
school.
this is
This
17.
You need to
17.
update the agenda item, and we need to move on and not defer this
Well,
until
the
next
agenda
meeting.
item says FY16.
Right.
Right.
So
So
it's
is
wrong.
that's wrong.
Right, that's what Dr. Quinn just said. So I would move to defer to next meeting.
Fine. I'll second.
We have
All
a
right.
motion to defer.
Okay, well, we have a motion to approve on the
Substitute motion.
substitute
motion
motion
to
to defer.
defer.
Okay, I just want to make sure we
The next meeting.
procedurally, and that has been seconded. Now, any discussion on the deferral motion?
I do have a question. We talked about advertising this, having enough time to advertise this. Dr. Quinn? Dr. Quinn? Do we have enough time to get all this information out about what's being offered for this, for some? So it's out there,
Pending board approval.
okay, so
Okay.
it's not going to hurt, and it's not going to hurt our parents or our students if we don't approve this tonight? It's not going to slow the process down?
There will be notice of the dates of the specific programs.
In terms of the registration process, if we go through, that would be delayed a couple of weeks.
Is that going to put a burden on Brook Point and all the registration that they have to do on their end?
When do they register for summer school? I didn't realize we registered in May for summer school.
I'll be registering my son.
In May, but also we have a final registration day on June 16th.
We'll be okay.
As long as the dates for the specific programs are available for parents to see, especially regarding summer plans, would be my thought. I just would like to make sure those dates are available.
And Mrs. Hazard, my objection is not to the proposed courses here for summer school. It's not to having summer school. I think it's good. I want to get straight the funding here.
I agree.
We need to have those answers before we approve it.
No, and I don't disagree. I think once we had the discussion, we learned that. I just wanted to I wanted to just reassure any parents that there are dates available so people could find them out. Moving with the intent, I believe that this school board certainly supports the summer school. We just have to get the funding mechanism straightened out.
And I had my question answered, so thank you.
Moving on to action item 10.
We need to.
Oh, did I? Sorry.
Yeah, we need to wrap this up.
Sorry. Okay. On the substitute motion to defer, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 10.02, approval of award of a contract for copier services. Is there a motion, or
think
would
on
there
this
like to be
item,
some
Mr.
information?
Wolf might have some additional information. Do we need a motion first, or do we want to have him?
I believe we can have discussion first, I think.
Lance, do you have some?
Would you like to provide some additional information about this particular item?
I'm sorry, I was in the middle of having a conversation.
Tonight's your night.
First, what I wanted to bring to your attention about this agenda item is that the procurement process, we had originally thought that we would ride an existing contract. And what we basically decided to do was additional due diligence to make sure that the vendor, their capabilities, their experience, their customer service, the quality of their copier machines, their response times, all those factors could be considered by us in light of what our experience had been. So after asking for proposals and quotes based on the fact that we knew we could there was a contract out there that we could ride, we were trying to get more information about all of the factors that we wanted to evaluate. And basically, we arose at the conclusion that Ricoh provided us with the best copier machines, the durability of the machines, the life of the machines, the quality of the maintenance and repair service, and the experience of the vendor and response times of the vendor. We, despite the cost differential, believed that the most responsible bidder was Ricoh. And so we rode, ultimately, after doing our due diligence, we did decide to ride the contract that was available to us. So that, in essence, was the beginning of the process to the end of the process. And of course, we had an evaluation team. Yes, we asked for the information from the vendors. Yes, we looked at the past history and all of the qualitative factors. We just felt that the best contractual arrangement for the school division would be to stay with Ricoh and to ride the contract that was available to us.
So we had an existing contract we could tap into. Then we just asked for some additional information doing our shopping like we should.
Yes.
And then you ended up using the original contract, which we didn't have to do all that shopping, correct?
Technically, no.
We could have just gone with.
We decided to make sure that we were going to make the best decision on behalf of the school division. And since we have 30
schools and various sites and many departments that we needed to be able to satisfy in terms of customer service. We wanted to make sure that we got as much information as possible before making that decision.
Madam Chair, your question. Go ahead. In my experience on the federal level, there's a grievance process that vendors can undertake in order to say that we didn't get a fair deal and we want to be reevaluated. Do we have such a process here on the local level?
They can't. Well, yes. Basically our attorneys would represent us, but there would be. We've had in the past on construction contracts and various other contracts where where the vendor has protested. So it's basically what that is a
and it's not typically
process.
Brought before the governing board. It's through the procurement process. Is it brought?
Well,
to
you have to
typically-
wait for the procurement process to be concluded,
Okay.
and then at such time, based on the decision having been made, they would protest, and then the implementation of the procurement would be placed on hold, subject to the review from, in our case, the outside legal counsel.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Healy. Sorry.
Am I reading this correctly? You say SPCS has had experience using 2 of the vendors, including Rioche, for the past 10 years. Has Rioche been our vendor for the past 10 years? Rico, I'm sorry.
Rico.
Rioche, Rico.
Yes, Rico.
So we've used them for 10 years.
Well, we used them, I believe, as short of 10 years. Before that, we were using Xerox.
Okay. And to say that we're not satisfied with the service received prior, I mean, that's service from 10 years ago.
No, not Rico. Prior to the Rico. We're currently still in the contract with Rico, technically, until...
Yeah, I understand that, but you're saying 10 years ago we weren't happy with the service.
That's
So
correct.
that's a reason we should continue with the service. I understand comfort, but I also understand finances. And right now, I'm on a financial crisis. I'm looking at all these dollars being spent. And if I'm doing the math correctly, don't have a calculator, but Mrs. Kibbe, you can help me out. If it's $650,000, $5,000 a year, $5,000 a month equates to $60,000 a year, which is almost 9%, approximately, of the contract. So we're going to pay 9% over what we could get from another vendor because we are more comfortable with it.
No, because we believe that the level of service and the amount of, in the end, the customer repairs and maintenance that we would incur would be an offset against more than an offset against what we would be contracting for,
Well,
which is
I'd
what
like-
happened in our prior experience.
I'd like to get 10 years ago, things change over the years. Things change, companies
That's why
change, people change.
That's why we went out and did our due diligence to make sure that we were making the best possible decision today.
Well, it sounds like you would have made this decision no matter what. I mean, if it were 10%
No,
versus
ma'am.
9%?
No, ma'am.
Where's the threshold here? We're talking about potentially 4 years, so that 60,000 times 4 years turns out to be almost $250,000 difference in these contracts.
These will be renewable annual contracts.
Right, for 4 years.
For 4 years.
That's what this says. 4 times 60 is still 240, right? Close to 200. That's close to $250,000 difference for the same service offered. I'm not satisfied here. This is telling me the same thing you told me before. We're more comfortable with it. I'd like to confirm that, these references. If you actually ask for references from people that don't have Xerox service, how are they going to tell you? I mean,
We asked for references that each company provided,
well,
Ms. Healy.
I'm just not
We asked for
satisfied with
the
this.
vendor experience in terms of staffing and from every vendor that we evaluated. We asked for information about their customer service from every vendor that we evaluated.
Well, sometimes it's in the asking.
So,
Mr. McCucker.
yeah.
Sorry.
So,
Start it again.
I was hoping to also see something about maintenance, so that, because I can totally understand, you bid low and then you put the thumb screws on us for maintenance costs. Is that what's going to happen here with this company, or?
Well, we believe that the quality of the service was such where we don't have as much faith that the cost isn't going to be real, that what we save in the contract isn't going to be offset or eaten up by maintenance and repair costs. we had some really difficult, challenging times before using RICO. The quality of service from RICO and the response times, the quality of their machines have all been up to the standards that we believe is satisfactory.
I understand your comfort level with the company. I understand. I mean, I'm kind of with Ms. Healy on this. There is $240,000. If you're here telling me that, hey, they underbid the contract, but they're gonna add this in maintenance costs, that's one thing that would be against. Then I would go the other way to RICO. If you're going to tell me that they don't have the personnel and they won't surge personnel within 24 hours, whatever that standard is, to fix our machines, then that would be an issue with me. But if you're standing there telling me...
That's partly what, yes, all of that was part of what we evaluated. Response times,
You evaluated response times from Xerox?
we from the information that we got and what information we had available, we evaluated response times, and we believe that based on the information that was provided to us, the best response time that we were going to get was continuing with RICO.
Mr. Wolf, can I interject? There seems to be a difference. There is part of this that goes to prior experience, but there was also due diligence conducted on current employees. Is that or current customers of both contracts?
From the information that we were able to get from each vendor, which we asked from each vendor, as you see here, the references, the vendor information on their vendor experience and information on their customer service, and we also had information about their copiers, the models, the specifications, all that information, most of which is available online, which we poured through before making any decision.
Mr. Hirons, do you have any comment? I'm going to go through the board. So I started with you. I'm sorry. Apology.
So you're saying, I know you said it, I think twice now, that the references that were contacted by our staff were provided by the vendors, potential vendors.
They said, please contact these companies. Here are the points of contact.
There was no direction to the vendors on who to provide as a reference?
No. We asked them to provide references. They provided us with whom they believed were references they wanted us to check, and we checked all the references.
And Madam Chair, this is not about RICO. RICO is a fabulous company. They've won the 2016 Most Ethical Companies. I'm familiar with the company, okay? It's just, I can't support it for that kind of money.
All right. Ms. Kidby, did you have a comment?
I noticed in your notes here, we had two financial people, Ann Sharp and Terry Stafford, who reviewed the contract. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did anyone else review the contract besides those two folks?
I reviewed the process as it was in the planning stages, and I reviewed the process on the tail end before the decision was made in terms of keeping touch with all the different variables of what we were doing.
And it says that Ann Sharp is former purchasing manager. She's not with us anymore, is that
She
correct?
retired.
Did she retire? Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. With regard to the date, it has an absolute date. Can you
Current contract expires
what day?
June 30.
June 30. All right. What is the yes.
Just a quick question. Did we put response time in our RFP?
That was part of what we indicated. We said we were going to base it on the references, the years of experience, and then the vendor information and responding. We indicated that, you know, our standard is being able to respond within 24 hours of a request. Yes, ma'am.
And was RICO the only vendor that said they could respond within 24 hours of a request?
I don't want to give you an incorrect answer to that question. I relied on staff summarizing this. I believe that RICO did, but I would have to look at what each and every one indicated that they would be able to do.
But you're saying that we did put in our RFP that we would be considering the
Response
and
times.
did we ask for response time? Did we say we expect response time within 24 hours?
I think what we were able to do was go online, and we were able to, with the references and other localities that had used each of these vendors, we were able to draw conclusions based on a lot of that kind of information, plus what it is that we had. But if you would like to see everything that we received from all the vendors, we can make that available.
I don't need to see that, but I'm just concerned that, you know, it may have been anecdotal if you just call and you talk to somebody, the vendor, and you got somebody on a good day that happened to be happy with it, and you could call another day and get somebody who's not happy. I mean, unless you got statistics.
That can happen. I'm not going to say it doesn't.
Statistical information, then I'm not sure anecdotal.
But we made every
is gonna
attempt
make that.
to get the best information available from each vendor.
Ms. Egan?
How long would a rebid take?
We'd be into the
By the time it
summertime.
gets advertised, it would be, so we would go beyond what our
We
current
would, yeah.
contract calls for. Okay, thank you.
All right, am I hearing that that the board would like further review, either through FAB or a committee or something? I'm just trying to get some sense of what we want to do.
Madam Chairman,
here.
I can't approve the recommendation at this point because I'm not satisfied that this is the best bang for the buck for Stafford County Public Schools.
Okay, how do we want to then proceed? I don't want to keep putting it on an agenda if what's then what I would call.
Madam Chair, if I may make a
Ms. Kibbe.
suggestion. Perhaps we can have a committee, not necessarily of board members. In fact, it shouldn't be of board members. Review these contracts once again, get a recommendation back to the board at our next board meeting. Perhaps someone could be, certainly from finance needs to be involved, perhaps someone else from central office, and perhaps administrator or a user at the school end could review. Perhaps even someone at the county level that reviews contracts could take a look at it and get back to us at the next board meeting.
I would just submit that, I mean, I think we've already had 2 reviews, two staff briefs. I would submit we either rebid or we just vote on it. So.
My only concern with having it relooked at is we're still going to have what I'll call anecdotal information. Right. We don't have any firm information about responses. We've got calls, and I understand you did.
We
what
have
you
as firm
thought was
information as we could
appropriate.
get under the circumstances
but-
based on what was provided.
Right, but if that was a primary concern to us, response time, then it should have been put in the RFP that our requirement is that we have 24-hour response. And if
We
somebody
did do
didn't
that.
want,
We said that we were looking at a standard of being able to have the vendor respond within 24
okay,
hours.
so did these other vendors not say they would respond within 24 hours?
I just need to go back to
So
them
you don't
to
know.
tell.
Okay, you
I
don't
don't
know.
have it on the tip of my tongue.
Okay,
So-
well, I'm not inclined to go to the higher bid, given that we're talking about potentially close to $250,000.
Over 4 years.
Over 4 years. And at this point, we would be committed for 1 year if we bid it. And if it was a disaster, lesson learned. But I have a feeling that it wouldn't be that much difference. I mean, you use somebody for 10 years, you get comfortable. I understand that. But we have to look at the expenditures.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
that's what I'm concerned about. And there is no evidence that I've been presented, there's nothing that's been said, that the other bidders would not be able to perform. If you tell me these bidders are not going to be performed, they are not going to meet our needs, this is the only company that can meet our needs, then I will
The two
reluctantly
procurement-
say we have to do it.
Our two procurement staff at the time, Ms. Sharp and Ms. Stafford, both reviewed all the criteria and arrived at that
I
conclusion.
know, and this is, this is what we're doing. Just because staff are doing it, we have to start re-looking at these things. We have to do business differently.
That's why we
Learned.
That's
I've
why we
learned.
asked to do our due
Speaking for
diligence.
myself.
In
Okay.
all deference, Ms. Healy.
Real quick, how many vendors responded to the RFP?
5.
5.
Okay, so this is going to be, if we deny it or ask for more information, so it's going to be the 5 vendors. It's not
Yeah,
just
we
Xerox.
need to
and
look at all of
Ricoh.
them, not just Xerox.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's why I was suggesting that we have fresh eyes take a look at it and come back to the board with information.
Because we only have information on one, to be honest.
The issue is the
The issue
criteria
is the
that's being
criteria of
applied
the
here.
bid.
It's subjective criteria.
The
It's
issue
the-
is the criteria of the bid.
It's not statistical, it's subjective. It's references that were collected from whoever was given a name to collect. That's what I understand is the primary difference
So-
here, correct?
The issue, though, is if we are going to deny this, then we don't have a name to put in my opinion, because we don't know what all 5 are. So,
have to reevaluate.
so there has to be a
Someone's
revision.
got to reevaluate it.
So, do we reevaluate what is currently before us?
We have to.
Okay, I'm trying to come up with the process and how we go about that.
And it's either going to have to be Mrs. Kidby's suggestion or the board. Or a
The
committee of the board.
And
So what's,
I'm not a contract review person.
I personally think the board should stay out of it.
I
Yes.
absolutely think the board
So-
should stay out of it.
So.
the other option
committee-
is Ms.
so-
Kidby's suggestion on, a couple new staff members from various,
What about the county? I like that
That's-
suggestion
That's
that
what
you
I
made.
suggested, someone from the county.
I'm sure, at this point, I'm not sure that our staff would be objective. We've gotten a recommendation.
who's the county's
2
contract with
times.
for copiers.
Hey, I think, I'm just looking at everything differently now.
So, are we, is there then a motion to defer pending completion of a committee to be pulled together by Dr. Benson, or are we going to name the members? I'm not sure I can name them.
I don't
but-
want to name them.
So
How
if
about
I
you
have a
leave it-
motion?
How about you leave it to Dr. Benson and the procurement?
Taking in our
And
suggestions.
the procurement folks and get this ball rolling, because if our contract expires at the end of June.
Next meeting,
right?
next meeting, we got to.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so we've got to do something, so get it off,
Right,
give
so,
it to someone else.
Just for
Would we like a
formality,
motion?
I move to pull 1002 off the approval
Oh, we can
agenda.
just defer.
And defer 1002 from action until pending further review.
all right. Moving on to,
We got to.
oh, sorry. Oh, I thought that was more of a motion. Second.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Please no. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we will be moving on to the budget. Does everybody want 5 minutes, or are we good to go?
Yeah, I need
I'll take it.
Let's have 5
I'll
minutes.
take it.
Thank you. We are adjourned for 5 minutes.
Have a funding amount, bus drivers, et cetera. We know we're not where we would ideally want to be, but we're taking a step forward, and it puts us on a path to be able to continue to take step forwards in years from now. What I'm particularly happy with, as Mr. McCosker is, as he drove the bus.
Drove the bus?
Moved him to the front of the bus, not in front of the bus this time. On class size reduction, we adopted a path to reduce our class sizes. We started primarily with elementary schools this year, our K through 5, setting hard and fast caps, hopefully, that we'll be able to staff to. I know we'll have to do some analysis on our actual building use, on how far we can go down with our class sizes. But this year starts us on the right path. Again, we're not there where we would ideally want to be, but gets us on the right path. This, combined with our strategic plan adoption in the coming months, will make us a board that's moving in the right direction. The FAB did meet on Friday of last week to get the final input from finance staff, and what we have presented here is what our recommendation is as a FAB, Finance and Budget Committee. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Wolf for any presentation and/or questions / firing squad.
Well, I made my presentation to the board and went over every line item and showed you how the numbers moved from the superintendent over to where we are now. And the main remaining discussion was the positions for math specialists versus high school teachers. All of that is within the instruction category, so there is no change to the numbers in the budget that are summarized that I gave you. So if you wanted to go ahead and approve tonight, staff would, as you directed, we would swap out the high school teachers and put the math specialists back in, and the delta in dollars would be set aside and used along with other savings that eventually are identified once we're in 2017 to try to fund additional high school teacher positions.
Are we ready to make that recommendation? I know we talked a lot about it, but are we ready to make that recommendation now? And Ms. Egan, since you had to miss the work session, there was concern of the board, as there was concern at the FAB meeting last week, of what's presented, then the recommendation from staff, and frankly the recommendation from the FAB was to not fund the 4 additional math specialists for the middle schools. But during discussion, during the work session, there is a will on the board to ensure we do have to fund those math specialist positions. And what we discussed there was we are also funding 5 additional English teachers, 1 for each high school, and reducing that funding and moving it to math specialists. So the middle schools will be staffed with, every middle school will be staffed with a math specialist, which is what the middle school principals asked for. And it was, as Ms. Healy pointed out, it was the only thing they asked for in this budget specifically.
I guess my questions are, so we're not going to eliminate the extra high school teachers? We're going to be able to have the best of both worlds?
No.
We don't.
You have to roll, it's a zero-sum game. So if we don't reduce the math specialists and you put them back in, then something has to be reduced to accommodate the extra cost of the 4 math specialists. So it was deemed that the 5 extra high school English teachers would be the source for covering what that delta would be. In other words, on your screen, what you see is almost 270,000 being reduced. That is the 4 math specialists. You would, to put that back in, get rid of that negative, you would have to have something else as a negative, and the only thing coming close to that as an offset are the 5 high school English teachers, 1 at each high school.
Okay. Ms. Egan, if you remember, during the budget, when we had our budget meeting and we were discussing staffing, and we were asking for some additional staffing, the 5 additional English teachers were above and beyond what staff recommended in terms of staffing. So this was another opportunity that we thought was important to be able to bring down class size in the high school English classes. Now the board is thinking if we have to choose between us suggesting an additional 5 English teachers and the original recommendation by our middle school principals of having 4 additional math specialists, 1 per each school, it might be better to take a look at those 4 math specialists because that's what was asked for by our administration. We just indicated that, 5 additional English teachers would be helpful as well. So we're deferring, if you will, to the will of the administration at a middle school level rather than necessarily the will of the board at the work session.
And also to be clear, there's still 2 additional English teacher positions, high school English teacher positions being funded in this.
Yeah.
We had a total of 7 in our initial request.
The 2 come from the staffing standards because of size.
Okay.
So there are 2 being generated in any case, but as you recall, we came up with 1 in each school. So there will be some added and possibly 1 more. It just depends on how the funding. Now, based on some other discussions and savings, that's really the only 2 points that we are trying to figure out on this that was the main part of discussion.
Okay. I guess my concern is that we had this conversation about math specialists, what, two years ago? I guess when I first got on the board. And I've not since had any feedback from my middle school principals about the need for it, but I have heard in the past from other math teachers that there is no need. So I'm a little bit confused about, do we need them or do we not need them? I can tell you that I did parent-teacher conference tonight, and all of our high school classes are still fairly large. So I have a concern about the high school level, but I'm going to defer to Dr. Benson and the FAB at this point, because I did miss a lot of that conversation. So, thank you.
All right, are there any other comments of how we want to address those? Ms. Healy, sorry.
Madam Chairman, in the past, you all will recall that I have been an advocate for returning the math specialists to the classroom. However, given the request of the middle school principals, and it's my understanding that they unilaterally, unanimously requested that half position in each of their schools, that they said if they could have any position, that's what they would ask for, then I'm willing to forego the additional English, which I asked for because I think that's important, but that was an extra. And that was when we were saying, what are we going to request for the budget? What do we think would be needed for the schools? But we can't have it all, and we have to make choices. So at this point, I want to support the middle school administrators in their request because I respect their judgment, and I think that their identification of this as a need is significant.
Can I just ask a question? Who did the middle school principals approach with this request? Because this is the first I'm hearing of it.
During the budget process, the principal groups are represented by one or two principals from that level, and then they bring their request to me and advocate for why they would want to have that resource included in next year's funding request. And this was at the top of their list. It was one of the last things that the board added, and so when we were working with the Finance and Budget Committee, I suggested that might be an area for reduction, particularly given the board's interest in trying to reduce class size in the division, and that the addition of math specialists doesn't do that. I would also note, though, that the board has looked at staffing standards for the division where we are clearly saying that we value math specialists, and we want to get to the point where we have them based upon the standard that was recommended. We have a number of standards that we're unable to fund in this year, so it will be a continued process for us to gradually increase the staffing support across all kinds of areas, including things like clerical. But I think our first and foremost area of focus needs to be where our kids are. And in this case, middle school principals, as represented through the budget process, felt like the support that teachers get through math specialists in the middle school, and you have to remember that we have a fair number of middle school teachers that might not have a strong background in math, need some help with helping students understand at a conceptual level what's going on, and I think that largely drove their recommendation.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Ms. Kidby?
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Kidby.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Just-
thought you were saying.
Just quickly, from a math teacher's perspective, if you will, the utilization of a math specialist within the classroom as a co-teacher and a tutor/helper to the students is invaluable. I've had math specialists come into my classroom and help me as an educator be a better educator, and share with me state-of-the-art or best practices in relation to math education. And when we utilize our math specialists in that way, they are invaluable. They can also be utilized to pull out small groups of students that are particularly struggling with certain concepts and work with them. The important thing to remember here, and I'm sure our administrators are very acutely aware of proper utilization of math specialists. And if there's criticism of math specialists, it could have to do with the way they've been utilized.
Just thank you, Madam Chair.
Gosh, I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
I didn't
that's
mean to
quite
ignore
right.
you, I'm
No,
sorry.
it's quite all right. It was good.
I thought you were
Ms.
waving
Kibbe,
at me.
it's good, some great points. As you know, years ago, I was screaming pretty loud not to cut our math specialists. A big supporter of math specialists, and so I want to get these math specialists in the budget. That's what the principals directed. That was their one thing they asked for. Whereas we ourselves added 5 English teachers as a board, and I have confidence. So let's get them in. Let's get the 4 math specialists in, and I have confidence that things like possibly the $600,000 summer program that we looked at, that may be a little bit off. I have confidence that we could maybe even could do both. Okay, we could definitely fund the folks with salary lapse for the next year. So let's do that. But more importantly, let's not. I mean, we just lost a great math specialist at Dixon Smith. Let's not seesaw Stafford County back on math specialists every other year. Okay, we can't afford to do this. Please, let's get math specialists in our programs, and let's keep them in their programs. And whether I'm on this board in a few years or not, please, just someone with some historical background. Let's keep these math specialists. They're doing wonderful jobs, and if some of them need help doing certain things, then we have the math coordinator. Okay, so please, let's put these 4 in the budget.
So there was a motion, I'm sorry, I did.
Mrs. Kibbe, would you consider amending your motion to approve it with the switch?
Certainly. Move for approval of the budget, funding math specialists, and the funding stream for that coming from the 5 additional high school English teachers as identified by the school board in the work session.
Second.
Who was?
Yes, I
were you
was,
the
and I agree.
You agree? Okay.
Yeah, he agreed. Okay.
All right. Is there any further discussion? I did want to make one comment. First and foremost, a lot has gone into this budget, and the most important part to me about this budget is it's going to be different going next year, that we are going to be focused on actual expenditures. We are putting people back in the classroom. 95% of our budget request is going into the classroom and people. Is this everything that we wanted? No. Is it everything that, but is it a plan? Is it measured? Is it moving forward? Yes. Just like we're doing with compensation in several areas, we see a measured approach. And I think what I'm hearing tonight among the board members too, it's not just in people, it's also going to be in programs as we measured and roll out. But we have to stay committed to whatever these rollouts are. We can't just get 1 or 2 years into it and then abandon. So with regard to people, with regard to our programs, with regard to where we're going forward, I do think the one thing that is exciting is the one thing we've committed to is changing the budget process and how it's going to go forward. And we have done that this year, and I look forward that we will continue in that way. I will support the budget as put forward by Ms. Kibbe and seconded by Mr. Hirons, and I do applaud this board for the work that we have put into it and digging into it. And we will be continuing to discuss parts of the budget, and I believe what I'm hearing is should additional funds somehow become available, something like that, we do look at that English area, that we keep that as one of our top parts going forward. Any further comments?
I would just like to thank the Finance and Budget Committee, Mr. Hirons, Ms. Hazard, and Ms. Kibbe for a lot of hard work on the budget, and good job. Hope you guys will stay in next year too.
I second that.
You guys got to approve it in June. Good luck.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's right.
We'll extend the terms in whatever policy we have to allow you to continue.
The 3 of us may bring straws for you guys.
Well, then I would say, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to 10.04, adopting the school board resolutions for FY16 year-end closeout authorizations. Is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chairman, can we treat these separately for discussion purposes?
Sure, let me pull them up. Is there a motion on either of the motion, of the?
I'll make a motion to approve the closeout authorizations. The second one on the,
All right, which one are you
Okay,
approving?
yeah.
the second one.
Second one, the
Yeah.
appropriation?
Let me just see. Yeah, FY 2006 year-end funds
It's
appropriation
appropriation
resolution.
resolution?
Yes, motion to
Okay.
approve that.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the table. Further discussion prior to the vote? All right, there being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is there a second motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move to approve the year-end closeout authorization with perhaps some change in language. Now therefore be it resolved that Stafford County School Board authorizes the superintendent to initiate procurement procedure consistent with their expenditure initiative and decisions for fiscal year 2016. It may be the will of the board to take a look at defining that a little bit better as initiatives and decisions as budgeted in 2016, fiscal year 2016, to the extent that expenditures were not specifically budgeted in 2016 and exceed the superintendent's authorization limits, items shall be brought to the board for review and approval.
I'll second that with that language change.
Let me read that again.
Sorry.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Stafford County School Board authorizes the superintendent to initiate procurement procedures consistent with their expenditure initiative and decisions for fiscal year 2016 as budgeted. Then add this, to the extent expenditures were not specifically budgeted in 2016 and exceed the superintendent's authorization limits, such items shall be brought to the board for review and approval.
Is that clear to everybody, or are there questions? So it's been, as amended, Ms. Healy, you approved, you were the second,
Yes,
is that correct?
yes.
I just want
And I appreciate Mrs. Kidby suggesting that language, and this is no reflection on Dr. Benson.
Certainly no
But
reflection.
I'm not approving any blanket authorizations relating to finance at this time. And it's no reflection on you. I think it needs to come to the board. It's our responsibility, and we need to see it. We need to make those decisions finally, and we certainly would want your recommendations with it. But this board needs to be responsible.
And again, these are just closeout items. These are
Right.
just closeout items.
But it could be significant sums of money based on what we've seen, at least from 1 year in the past.
Any further discussion or comment? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Sorry. Close that out. Moving on to information items, 11.01, which was our proposed priorities and metrics. I believe we had a general discussion, but is there, and I know, Ms. Kibbe, you said you wanted to meet on that. Are there any broad, general comments about 11.01?
I had some very specifics, but I can meet with.
Yeah, I would prefer, since we really didn't get a chance to talk about it in closed session,
Work
session, that, let's chew on it a little bit more.
Okay.
For next time.
Right, okay. Okay. Then let's move on to 11.02. Approve the SOQ total number of certified teaching hours for grades K to 5, et cetera.
But I'm going to need some help with this one.
Okay.
We need a translator.
Yes.
Google Translate. I read this thing and it was like, whoa.
Mr. Fitzgerald, can you give us the Cliff Note or overall version of?
Yes, ma'am. Well, we have, as we've in the past presented previously, we've acknowledged that our schools have met the conditions of the SOQ for instructional hours at the high school and the middle school. At last board meeting, we acknowledged Stafford High School had the 996, and the high school has accrued 1,003, and the middle school has accrued 994. And what we're here to do tonight is basically invoke 22.1-98 for the elementary school, which has accumulated 984 hours. And so the objective here with 11.02 is to request that the board formally certify that the elementary hours meet the requirements of 22.1-98. And so we're really just basically going to say that we have certified that we've met the requirements for 22.1-98. And and I can go into further explanation. And let me make this.
So, Mr. Fitzgerald, are you saying 22.1-98 overrides the 990?
Yes.
That you can go below 990 if you meet the criteria in 22.1-98?
That's correct, absolutely, and that's why we're bringing it forward. So that's all we really need to say.
We don't need to be at 990 because we've made up one for every.
That's correct. On item number 2, we make up the first 5 days plus 1 day for each 2 thereafter. And that's what we've done basically for the elementary level. And there you see what we've done basically with our days. And we have actually 1 more day, so we've met our criteria for 22.1-98. So we're just asking you basically to certify that and we can move forward.
When you say move forward, meaning?
With the certification for the SOQ when it comes forward.
That's after school ends, correct?
That's correct.
We can't certify anything until we finish.
No, and that's what will happen, but this is basically bringing it forward now so that we don't have any questions later on if it were to be approved.
So we're still on track according to the ticker chart for
Yes,
a
sir.
5/27 early release, et cetera,
Yes,
6/13,
yes.
14, okay.
6/13 is a full day. That's part of the makeup for that February 16 day we missed.
Yeah, I see, 350.
Yes, sir.
Those are minutes, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I got no issues.
So is there a action item, if I see that there is a request to move this to action, the necessity for that, again, I'm sorry, Mr. Fitzgerald, I must
No,
not
that's
be following
okay.
it.
Well, once again, I think, Madam Chair, just Ms. Healy's point's kind of taken. We can move it to action, but should we move it? Is it necessary to move it to action prior to the school year being over? It could be.
Right, is there an impact on the calendar is really what my
I don't know, and
comment is.
that's something.
You really can't certify it until the days are over because technically, I mean, we can say,
Could have a
provided that there are no further times missed, we could certify it. Otherwise, it would have to come back to us if there's any change in these hours.
And that would be great if the board would do that. And that way, we would have board action prior to completing the state report.
I got no problem with that.
So if the board's comfortable saying, provided we don't miss any more days, that we will be invoking this part of Virginia Code as a waiver for our elementary schools.
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
I'm fine.
I'm
All
fine
right.
with that.
So I'll make a motion that we move it to action. And you're saying that it needs to be approved tonight versus at the next meeting?
It just makes it convenient and we can move forward and it doesn't require being brought back and extending the next meeting. It's just really that simple.
Okay, but you're not going to certify
We
until
don't
the school
certify
year is
until
over.
after the school year is over, right.
Right, well then I'll make a motion, we move it to action.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second? All right, it's been moved and seconded to move item 11.02 to action. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 11.02 has been moved to action. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve 1102 as amended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 11.03.
Oh, that's all, Ms. Heath.
I didn't notice our one from last month. This is hazard. Didn't come back.
Oh, so we've got Dominion Power Utility.
Please, no.
Please, no.
Hey, you're going to get my bill for this.
All right, is there any, I guess, questions for
no
Mr. Haran, or
questions.
is there a motion on the table?
No.
No, this is for information.
Well, I do
Information,
have
I'm
a question.
sorry. I
Madam
got
Chair,
myself ahead of time.
I do have questions.
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
When is the time frame they want to do this?
The tying in of the actual transformer. We have a couple of reps from Virginia Power here. Do you know the timing, the exact time frame?
Uh-oh.
Let me see. Guarantee shall remain.
All trees and limbs cut by grantee shall.
During summer.
Shit.
Okay, that's better.
Yes.
Because it's going through a play area.
That's correct. It goes behind,
And-
it goes from the transformer behind the shed,
Yeah.
the mechanical yard, and then it goes across, it bores under 2 sidewalks, and then to the mini land site. So no trees are in the area, even though the easement addresses that, but that's a standard clause in their
No
easement.
trees are in there today.
And
This
we have
is in
no plans.
perpetuity.
That's right, and
This
we have no plans
runs
to.
with the land.
That's correct. That's correct.
And I don't,
So-
still don't like that clause. I don't know why we can't just cross it out.
We'll
If
do
we're
it.
granting an easement, we can put anything we want in there, or we can take it out. If they
Absolutely.
don't want to accept it, that's up to them. But why say that they can cut it and we have to take care of it?
So, Mr. Hirons, did I answer your
I don't think
question?
it's a bad idea to have the language exactly as you requested with the one last week.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'd request that. Now, it's supposedly summer, but there are Parks and Recs use of that property too, and it's pretty much right in that area that lacrosse and soccer practice on. Are they going to be informed in case of
Yes, sir.
of anything? And
Absolutely. Yep.
Any
Okay.
other questions or inquiries to Mr.?
And we'll pursue that, Ms. Ely. Not a problem. Absolutely.
Last sentence in paragraph 4. All trees and limbs cut by grantee
and go back to your template.
shall remain the property
Don't cross it out
grantor.
whenever you come to Stafford.
Right? Don't. She's
Yeah,
getting spun
don't
up.
hide it.
Yeah.
Don't.
We need her to come down.
Calm down. Relax. Pins and needles.
Hey, it's in your
and
all's
pins.
district.
No, I think
Happy
the
Neely
precedent that you started
Right.
is a good one, and we
Yes.
should ask Virginia Power to, when they come to Stafford County, to have that language.
The Stafford template.
Yeah. They're a big company. They should be able to store multiple
Say it to me, then
templates.
Spotsy will come up next with it. So
Or at least have your people point it out to us when it comes forward.
Yes,
In
ma'am.
case I'm not around.
Absolutely. We can do that.
All right, Mr. Heron, why don't you just stay there while we move on to 11.04, Columbia Gas, in support of the Shirley Heim natural gas conversion.
This particular project has been in the CIP. Natural gas was not available to Shirley Heim location when we built the school, and now because of Brent's Mill being finished, they've run natural gas up into behind the school near the softball field. So what this would do would take the gas from the neighborhood, Brent's Mill, around the softball field, not through it, but around it, into the mechanical room right there near the loading dock. So pretty easy.
Any concerns? Any time impact critical?
No, it'll be
concern?
this summer.
Okay.
And so at the start of the school year, we'll be under natural gas for heating and hot water boilers. Yes, ma'am. Yes, it's going to save anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000 per year on our estimated bill. So,
We're getting there.
so. Go out.
Be ready to read us into closed session. All right,
Okay,
Mr. Haran,
thank you.
thank you very much. All right, moving on to 12.01. Ms. Egan, do you have a closed session motion?
I do. Pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia, I move that the Stafford County School Board convene a closed meeting to discuss or consider public safety pursuant to the public safety exemption of Section 2.2-3711A19 and personnel matters pursuant to the personnel exemption at Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. We are in closed session.